Hi, my name is Tommy George, and this is Malcolm X, A Forgotten Hero. Hi, my name is Malcolm X. You might know me as the violent MLK, and speaking of MLK, we met. He actually said in an interview, "I feel that Malcolm has done himself and our people a great disservice," which obviously didn't help because he was really praised at the time, so it really ruined my image even more than it was. But you might not know me at all because schools are banning the teaching of me at this point because they think I'm too violent. And what I've done for the civil rights movement, they don't think is okay. And I actually started one of the terms that is used so commonly in politics nowadays in 2016, radical Islam, which is sudden reports from white people when I first started gaining popularity. But I'm not really as violent. I wasn't really as violent as you think, but we need to start from the beginning. My childhood really isn't important, but what you do need to know is that my father was killed by a group like KKK, and my mother was put in a mental asylum. Anyway, I did well in school up to about 8th grade. At my height of confidence, I'd actually get somewhere. Remember the confidence part. But my English teacher told me that I could never fulfill my dream of being a lawyer because I was black, and that sent me at a downward spiral. Because that really brought down my confidence, and plus all the racial slurs and the racial comments really got to me. So I quit school and moved to Boston with my sister. In no school I had to do something, so I ended up becoming a well-known hustler, pimp, drug dealer, anything you could think of that was criminal-like. I even robbed a bank. And when I robbed the bank, I got caught, and I got charged with 10 years in prison, even though I was a minor, which is way too much. But this was a big turning point in my life. This is because I met prison mates that were followers of Elijah Muhammad, and they explained Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. And I read books in the library about his teachings. I was really intrigued, and I just kept reading book after book, not of Elijah Muhammad, but random books, because I wanted to get to know. I wanted to increase my improve my literary skills, so the letters that I wrote to him would be worthy, because he was known as the Messiah of Allah. When I was released, I traveled to Detroit, where I worked with Elijah to expand the Islamic movement. I worked with the Nation of Islam and their following, and I really tried to expand the movement's following among Afro-Americans nationwide, also known as African Americans that you call it now. And over time, I gained trust and power from Elijah Muhammad and became the minister of 2 temples and founder of another 2. The Nation of Islam taught basic Islam, but it added the idea of race separation. Race separation is the idea that blacks are superior of whites, so they should have their own society, they should have their own community, and they should rise and not let the whites bring them down. This was the hope anyway. Mainly because of me, the Nation of Islam grew from a mere 400 members when I was released in 1952 to 40,000 members in 1960. That's just 8 years. And I said before I wasn't as violent as you think, and this is where I'll prove it to you. Over those 8 years, I taught 2 things. 1, self-defense. I never advocated any violence. I only said that black people who are the victims of organized violence perpetrated upon us by the Klan, the Citizens Council, and many other forms, we should defend ourselves. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Police officers threw a black woman down onto the ground and dragged her down the street. And black men stood around and watched, doing nothing about it, saying, well, let's overcome with our capacity of love. Or, I have a dream that, who's that going to help? No love or dreams are going to stop that sheriff from dragging that woman by her hair across the town. And it disgraces the rest of us because a picture of all this is published straight into the newspaper. And black men are standing in the background, minding their own business, like it isn't their job to protect a fellow Afro-American woman, but it is. Afro-Americans needed to learn to protect themselves and each other. But do you know what that headline for that newspaper was? A black woman resists arrest. These misleading headlines led to a lot of press manipulation, which I'll explain later. And that brings me to my second thing that I taught in those 8 years, confidence. The press, along with this whole country surrounding us, made us hate ourselves. Our color became a prison that restricted us from getting somewhere in life. Our color, and as long as we felt trapped by black skin or black nose or black blood, that skin and those features became hateful to us. These things made us feel inferior, inadequate, helpless. And since we fell victim to these feelings, we need a leader to tell us otherwise. We need a leader to tell us that we were all feeling these emotions. We all felt trapped within ourselves, like we were in a big prison together, an all-black prison. But do you know what happens when everybody in prison works together against the guards? They escape. To sum up everything I taught in those years, it would be to unite. Whether it was defending each other or building each other's confidence, the black community would be superior if we came together as one. To continue with my life story, by 1960 I was the leading voice of what the press called the radicalized wing of the civil rights movement, since Dr. King led the peaceful wing because he wanted integration instead of separation. And of course, the story you know is Dr. King's because the whites really liked the peaceful side. They didn't want to get hurt. This all changed in 1962 when I discovered Elijah Muhammad was an adulterer. He had multiple affairs with his secretaries, and it said that he could have had up to 20 children with these women. And this was the worst thing he possibly could have done because Islam forbids cheating and deception, whether Muslims or non-Muslims are involved. And that was one of the most important rules of Islam. That destroyed me. I looked up to this man as if he was my father, because he basically was. And he took away all the trust I had from when he was against when he went against the most possibly important rule in Islam. So I left the Nation of Islam to create my own organization. It was called Muslim Mosque Incorporated. 10 other men joined who left the Nation of Islam the same time I did because I told them about what I learned of Elijah Muhammad. I didn't know exactly what this group would be about or what its purpose would be, but I needed inspiration. So I gave one of the members the temporary leader position and took a trip through North Africa and the Middle East, a spiritual journey. On this journey, I learned what true Islam was. It was a true political and spiritual turning point in my life. I made the Hajj, which is the trip to Mecca, and became a Sunni Muslim. I was no longer just a member in a group led by a fake Muslim. I was true to what I was teaching and what I was learning. This journey forced me to reject the racism and anger that clogged my mind. I became friends with everybody, with many religions, Christian, Jews, Buddhists, all colors, black, brown, yellow, even white. True Islam taught me that it takes all the religious, political, economic, psychological, and racial ingredients to make the human family and the human society complete. When I came back, I knew exactly what I wanted my organization to become. I wanted to build an organization whose ultimate objective was to help create a society in which there could exist an honest white-black brotherhood. But my violent black Muslim image kept blocking me. I slowly shaped my image to the public, and by 1964, the membership grew to 500 people. And a lot of these people were not former Nation of Islam members. This means that a lot of people that were Muslims did not want to join the Nation of Islam because they felt that my image and Elijah Muhammad's image was too violent and it was too radical. But then they accepted who I became, and that really gave me the confidence that I needed. My organization grew, and it got noticed. In August 1964, the Supreme Council on Islamic Affairs awarded 20 scholarships to permit young members of my organization to study at a university, tuition-free. Following month, World Islamic League offered another 15 for the same kind of thing. These are the kinds of accomplishments I was most proud of. I gave people education. I gave people a future. It was a time to take the next step. So I founded the Organization of Afro-American Unity, or OAAU. This organization sought to unify the 22 million Afro-Americans with each other and with Africa. This was the next step because any black person could join. There was no religious affiliation whatsoever because the trip to Mecca really gave me the ideas that said that religion seems to divide people up instead of unite them together. We focused on learning from African history, providing proper education for black children, provided economic stability for all Afro-Americans, and greatening the percentage of black registered voters. I saw this organization as a way to unbrainwashing black people, ridding them of the lies that they've been told about themselves and their culture. But then it happened. On February 19, 1965, right in front of my kids and my wife, I was assassinated. However that happened does not really matter. All that matters is that my successor, my half-sister, pushed the organization, the OAAU, farther than I could ever imagine, and inspired other groups and communities to be formed, pushing the civil rights movement to where it is today. Although I was killed before my organization really took off, I took a stand. I took a stand against the white racists. I took a stand against the manipulating press. I took a stand for the black community. I took a stand for my father. And most of all, I took a stand for myself. I was told by my English teacher, the press, and even fellow Afro-Americans that I wouldn't become anything. But I sure did. Thanks.